breathe for you. I don't wanna grieve for you. Everything I do to you, I do.
Hello, everybody. This is Kamal Farahani with Metaltalk TV. Today, speaking to the legend himself, Mr. Joseph Williams. How are you, sir?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm even better now. Thanks to you. There's a lot to cover and a lot to go through, but first of all, I want to ask, how are you doing in these weird times? And to ask you about your new album, Denizen Tenant.
Well, I'm doing pretty good in these weird times. There's my cat here.
Yeah.
We're surviving, me and Joe, my kitty.
Yeah.
Just trying to find stuff to do and keep busy, not go completely stir crazy. And but everybody's so far healthy, knock on wood, family. Have a brand new grandson who's
Congratulations.
3 months old today, so that's cool.
Congratulations.
And we're excited about the records coming out, so that was a lot of work last year, but we're thrilled that it's coming out. So, and Luke's record is just amazing, so I'm thrilled.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's I was listening to your record and his record back to back, and I had a real pleasure of speaking to him about a couple of weeks ago about his record. And he was saying, well, the plan was to have them both out basically the same time, almost like, I don't know if you call it half and half, but there's that connection between you guys, obviously being in Toto and having that. So were you planning on having it always, releasing it as a pair like that?
Not to begin with, Luke had planned to do his album, separately. I think he maybe towards the end of 2019 had decided he was going to go in and do his record. And I started like chipping away at material for mine all the way back in 2016 was the beginning, beginning of like, I knew I was going to do one, but never knew when I was going to get to it. But I started writing some pieces. 2020 became the year to work on mine because we stopped touring at the end of 2019.
Yeah.
I had no deal. I had no record deal. I made my record entirely on my own, just on my own. So after the fact, Luke introduced me to his label. And so once he introduced me to his label, his record was already finished or, close to being finished. So after the fact, we thought of the idea of, hey, what if we release them together? It might be nice for Toto fans.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I think it's really a treat for everybody, but especially Toto fans, because you've got the full run of everything from the harder, kind of rockier stuff on Luke's record to the more complex kind of pop, smoother stuff on yours.
Yep. Oh, there's David Paich calling me right now in the middle of
our... Oh my God, can you get him in here? Or tell him to hopefully have a Toto reunion on air. How's
exactly. Yeah. No, he's let's see. Hey Dave.
Hi.
I'm in the middle of an interview right now.
Oh, sir. Please, by all means, join in.
I will. I'll call you back when I'm done.
No worries. I might be in a meeting, so I'll call you. Let me call you back.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
See, it's like every day we talk to each other.
That's brilliant. Well, I know he's playing organ on, is it Black Dahlia, the track, or he's playing on your record?
Yeah. No. He played on Black Dahlia and co-wrote Liberty Man.
Yeah. So. Well, I was going to say, first of all, I really, really enjoyed your record, particularly the title track. But it's hard to pick a favorite. I was going to ask, where did the title Denizen Tenant come from? Because I'm not really.
It came from the guy who co-wrote the song. He actually wrote most of it. His name is Steve Overton, and the song title and the lyrics come from him. He's an amazing guitar player, bass player, and he had this quirky little 2-minute piece that was unfinished, but it was sort of the basis of the song. And then I grabbed a hold of it and worked it and turned it, made it into made a chorus and a bridge and everything, and it was called something else, but I loved the little chorus thing that he had, which was Denizen Tenant, and so it ended up being a co-write. But Denizen Tenant, in his lyric, in the context of his lyric, is like a bad roommate breakup situation. So it means the same thing twice.
Yeah.
Denizen and tenant means the same thing. Denizen tenant is like a guy who comes to your party and 4 a.m, you're trying to tell him, you got to go home, man.
Yeah.
You got to go home. So I love that because, when I was a young man, I used to be kind of like that guy. So I thought it was a good title.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I saw, well, obviously the reaction from fans, which has been, I think, is pretty great. But I saw someone describe the records as a pair and said if Lukather is the rock, then yours is the roll.
That's cool.
And
I think
yeah, I don't know what you think of that. Yeah, I was going to ask because of all the tracks, the one that actually really surprised me and caught me off guard was Wilma Fingado. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, Wilma Fingado.
Yeah, that when I first had that on shuffle, I thought it was Post Malone or something at the start. It completely caught me off guard, and then, that was something really different. What is that?
Well, it's a song from my mother. It's a song from my mother. She passed away when I was a kid. She died when I was 13 years old. Yeah. So on all of my solo records, I usually do some sort of dedication or some musical poem or something for her. And so that's what the song is, and then the production of it is I worked with a guy named Dylan Ronan, who's just amazing, and has a little bit more of a touch on that, on more of a current kind of a feel in the track. So he co-produced it with me, and to get the track sounding like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the song is a song for my mom. It's the song on the album for her, and her name is not Wilma. The title is like the punchline of a joke that she used to tell. She had a wicked sense of humor, and so I named it that for her just because it was funny. But it's a very actually sweet song for her.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Thanks.
Of all the covers, I know you did the Beatles one. You've heard "If I Fell," but the one that caught me off was the Peter Gabriel song, and it's such a lush, atmospheric song, especially uplifting at the second half when it all picks up. I thought that's incredible. And what was your feeling for that one?
Well, thank you. That was a kind of a fluke. I was taking a break, working on something else. This screen over here's got the keyboard, and I went over here and was watching YouTube, and the old video Peter Gabriel came up, and I love that song so much, so I just started playing it over here and singing it, and I just thought, what would it be like if I tried it? So I hit record, and I just recorded some piano, and then I recorded some vocals, and then I just got carried away, and then I just kind of started arranging it. I just got carried away, really. I wasn't trying to make a point or produce something, to impress anybody. It was just I love the song so much, and I was just like, okay, I've gotten this far. Now, how do I finish it? How do I make it, better? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, then using my daughter, I just thought that the lyrics worked great as a father-daughter type of a conversation. Yeah. And she's a great singer. My daughter's a great singer and a very professional, on the mic in the studio. So. Yeah.
Well, so musical genius clearly runs in the family.
Well, I don't know about musical genius, but musical ability.
Most definitely. I was going to ask you actually about about the fact that the people reacting to this record. One of the things that I really enjoyed about your record and the Lukather record was that both sounded, I don't know, it was a really cathartic, natural experience listening to a real record again, especially when you both in context. And I asked Steve Lukather about 3 weeks ago. I said, what's your take on some of these younger bands, especially some rock bands, really leaning heavily on auto-tune and samples and all that kind of stuff? And after a while, basically, he said, well, I could train my dog to make a record. if I take the bark and auto, you know what I mean, cut it and slice, and so that's all you need to say. So I was going to ask you the same question. What's your take on it?
Well,
that's Luke's quote.
Yeah, I mean, look, my take is that real human beings recording real music is always the best. You know what I mean?
Amen.
If you think about it, because it's only been a handful of years, or, whatever, 100 years or so since there's been recorded music. Before that, all we ever did was, or could do, is just perform it for each other.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the best possible way of doing it. Now, technology has allowed us to come so far, and I love to utilize it because I'm a nerd, and I'm also I'm a gear hound. Yeah. I'm a gear hound and a nerd, so I like to utilize it. But something's definitely missing if you don't have humanity in there somewhere. If it's completely, all digital, it's missing, something. There's nothing real in it. You know what I mean? So even entire digital track that at least has vocals on it has humanity in it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? 100%. But in the end, it's like, it's like a movie score that doesn't have at least some real orchestra back there, or some real instruments in their orchestra or not. It doesn't sound rich enough. Am I answering your question?
100%. I agree with you. I most definitely agree with you. I think most people find that, especially, today, where you can sort anything out in the studio. I think people actually love the breaths between, to hear an actual instrument hum, to hear an actual voice.
It's the word I use is air. What's missing is air. The actual air of the world is missing. For sure. That's what these are for, to capture, that, and that's what's missing without tape too. Yeah. The thing about tape is that even though it was still actually capturing it on a medium, there was something more organic than digital. Even though digital is fine, it's the same thing, really. I mean, but the tape captured more of the air. Yeah. 100%. I mean, absolutely couldn't agree. Well, that's a perfect jumping off point. I wanted to ask you now about some of your work with Toto, obviously, looking back from, breadth and musical genius. I think no one can ever beat what Toto's done. If I ask you to pick a favorite Toto album that you've worked with or you've sang on, could you pick it? Toto tune?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's like choosing between, it's the old cliche, like choosing between one of your children. But I'll pick one. I'll pick a couple.
Go for it.
Pamela was a lot of fun to work on. It was a lot of hard work. That song. There were others during those sessions that were a lot harder, but that one sticks out because it was my tune with Dave. Yeah. And everybody else in the band was really, really digging it and happy about it. So I was excited, that it was like looking at it like it was going to be like up on the list in terms of early releases and all that stuff. So I have a very clear memory of working on it. So that would be my answer, at least in the group of tunes, obviously, that I worked on. Yeah. For sure. If you were asking me what my favorite Toto song is, it would probably go Before My Time. Okay. It would be in the earlier. It would be in that first group of five or six and 7 man group.
Well, I was just watching today the video of the 35th anniversary gig, and that's such an incredible concert. And I was just the one of you singing St. George and the Dragon was just unbelievable.
I love that. We got to bring that one back out.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, are you hoping that Toto? Before we go forward, I was going to ask you about the 7th one, obviously the album. And now I think I saw a poll or some fans just said that that's now, I think, the joint favorite or the second favorite Toto album of all time after number 4. But at the time, what was the reaction, or what was your reaction to the reaction like when that album was being made and when it came out?
Well, when it came out, it was really well received in Europe. I mean, I was less aware of it, I think, than some of the other guys in the band, because I was just sort of blind to the whole thing and so excited to be there, and also partying too much, for lack of a better term, and sort of not, just sort of going, just enjoying the whole thing. But what was happening that I wasn't paying attention to with the 7th One record is that the band, after the 4th record, had a little bit of a lull, and it was starting to kind of come back a little bit. You know what I mean? With the 7th one, and it did really, really well in Europe. It did really well overseas. It didn't quite catch on here in the United States like the 4th album did. It didn't have a Rosanna like top 10, top 5 hit, or an Africa #1 hit. If it had had a song on the charts close to that, it would have been bigger in the States.
Yeah.
But overseas, in a few markets, it had a couple of #1. It had "Stop Loving You."
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect pop song. The perfect pop song.
And Pamela in the States got up to like it was in the top 20 or something like that. So it's a popular album, and definitely in terms of the songs and the production, it's the closest to 4, I think.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, because I was looking, actually, that very question you mentioned, that I think it made 64 on the Billboard charts, but it broke every top 10 in Europe.
Right.
So did that surprise you or the band as a whole?
I think it surprised the rest of the guys in the band. I wasn't like, full of confidence back then. So I was like, but I certainly didn't, I guess I was a little bit bummed out now that I think about it. But it didn't, I was hoping Pamela would have the same reaction in the States that like Rosanna did.
Yeah.
And it just didn't catch here in the States, like for instance, "Stop Loving You" did in Europe.
Yeah.
Meh.
No. How was that tour in Europe? I mean, because I heard it was legendary, but also had its ups and downs.
Well, it was, for me, it was disastrous. For me, for me, the Fahrenheit tour after the first album I did with him was brilliant. It was fantastic. The work on the 7th One album was really a lot of work. Yeah. And I didn't do any prep before we went out for the tour after making the album. Yeah. I didn't do any prep at all. And I went right from like not taking care of myself to going out on the road. Yeah. And I was having trouble in rehearsals towards the end of rehearsals. Yeah. So by the time we actually got out there, the beginning of the run, I was already in trouble. And so I basically like limped my way with my voice through the whole tour. Yeah. And like literally lost my voice in a couple of very key places in a couple of key shows. And so the guys were furious. And so, and at that point with the earlier singers and those experiences, they were like, we can't have this. We have to have, we got to look again. We got to find yet another person. Yeah. And because of that, they were treating me horribly. And so I kept storming off. Yeah. And so that's why the story was, I quit, they fired me, I quit, they fired me. That's why the story was up and down. Yeah. But that's what was happening. Yeah. So it was only because they loved me and I loved being there. They were disappointed because I was screwing up. And I got angry because they were showing me they were pissed off. That was what it was. So the tour was disastrous. Had I prepared and been like really good on that run, I probably wouldn't have left the band. Yeah. So that's the truth of that.
Well, do you think that was a blessing in disguise looking back at it now, or were you were you happy and feeling better when you came back to it all those years later?
Well, it's absolutely a blessing in disguise, because if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have my children or my grandson. I wouldn't have had a 15-year career in television and you know, low budget film composer. Which, you know, was something that I didn't know anything about when I got into it. You know, I don't have the training that my dad has at all.
Yeah.
So I basically, the person who helped me learn how to do it was Jay Gruska, who's a, you know, who produced a couple of songs on the album, on my album. But he's a TV composer, and he's you know, and he showed me how to do it with gear, basically, and I did that for 15 years and had a really decent career.
Yeah, I saw the Lion King was on there, wasn't it, amongst others?
The Lion King was part of career number 3, which was the big first one, which was I did you know, session work as a vocalist. That was that stuff. What I'm talking about is after I left Toto, I worked as a composer for TV, writing scores, you know, for television shows and low budget films. The Lion King was a vocal session that I got hired to do. To replace the actor's voice for the singing, or not replace his voice, but do the singing parts. Because they weren't sure, they wanted the voice to sound more of a pop sounding person. That's it.
It's one of those Wikipedia fact or fiction things, but on the top of your film work, the very first one that lists is for Star Wars Episode 6, the Jabba the Hutt palace scene. Yes. You know that. So I'm a Star Wars nerd myself. I was going to ask you about that because I'm not sure anyone's ever come up with it.
That is true. In the original version of Return of the Jedi, before
Lucas screwed it up.
Yeah, but well, he didn't. I don't know if he screwed it up, but he changed. He changed it because he wanted to. And the thing that my dad and I did was pretty goofy, to be perfectly honest with you. Back in both those days, my father asked me to write some words in English. For the tune in Jabba's court. And also some words in English for the song that the Ewoks do at the end of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I wrote some words in English and he told me right at the beginning, he said, they're going to be translated into a language that's so you're not going to hear your words, but you'll get a credit.
Yeah.
And I said, great, that's great. So I wrote some just lame words to go with the music, and they translated them into Snooty's language. That scene, and also into the Yub Nub song. Those lyrics were freedom. I wrote lyrics in English, and it was freedom. It was freedom. We got freedom.
Freedom.
And they translated it to Yub Nub, each up Yub Nub. So that was those two original songs. The lyrics were by me. And then the alien language lyrics were by Ben Burt's girlfriend at the time. Were credited to her. So that's and then the music was my father's. And then I went up to Lucasfilm with him and did some voices for Ewoks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some running around and singing on the song. You know, at the end of the song. And then Lucas replaced it.
He seems to love doing that.
Well, it's his movie.
Yeah, very true.
You can do what you want.
Very true. It's brilliant. I guess what I'd like to ask at the end or near the end is, are you surprised and are you pleased that Toto's music has endured the way it has?
Oh, I'm incredibly pleased. I mean, I was a fan before I was a member, and I was a friend before I was a fan. Because I've known some of these guys before the band. So the fact and the songs and the music that endures, especially the what I call the legacy Toto music, the stuff, you know, the Rosanna, the Africa, the whole line, the St. George and the Dragon, all of that stuff, the Hydra stuff, all that great stuff. It was so good. I mean, I remember when I was a young guy when I was 18, 19 years old when Hold the Line came out. And you know, those guys were only 20, 21.
Yeah,
I was only just a few years younger than them. But it was some of my favorite stuff because they were my friends, and it was also just the kind of music I liked.
Yeah.
So are you kidding me? I love it. And then to be a part of it is also just makes it that much more fantastic. It's the same thing with the Lion King, just to be just a little tiny part of just a Disney thing. It's just a huge thing. I'm humbled.
It's amazing. What do you hope last question I have to ask is what do you hope the future holds for both your solo album and for Toto?
Well, I hope people just dig the album. Ended up very much being something I needed to get out of my system. It turned out. So it's no longer mine to listen to. So I hope people dig it. That's really all I can say about it in the end. It meant a lot to me while I was making it, and I still really like it. So I hope people dig it. And then as far as Toto goes, we're just waiting until we can play. You know, Luke and I are both kind of withering because we're creatures that love to get out there and play.
Of course.
Live. And we still just really want to do it, and we're going to. You know, we'll be back out there. We're basically just sort of, you know, waiting. You know, going like it's like waiting. It's like a layover, waiting for an airplane.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been a year. We've had our layover. So, but we'll be back out there. So that's what I'm excited for that, and we've got plans, and we just did a documentary about the November live stream that we did in November. So that's going to be coming up, and you know, a lot of exciting stuff. So and I'm continuing to make videos for all the songs on my album.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see all of those. Mr. Joseph Williams, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I wanna face it too. I do to you.